Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he chose between me and his fiancée when he prioritized her surgery over mine? I, 17F, have had a rocky relationship with my dad. My parents married after I was born, hoping to provide a stable family for me, but they divorced when I was 11 after my dad went to rehab, and things only worsened from there. During rehab, he met his current fiancée, and they later had a kid, 6F. Since then, my dad has been mostly absent from my life. Whenever I have important events, he either has an excuse or doesn't show. I'd estimate he's been present for less than half of my events since their divorce. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with scoliosis, and initially, surgery wasn't needed. However, my condition got worse, and I was finally scheduled for surgery on November 20th of this year. I told my dad about it months ago, expressing how much I needed his support this time, and he promised he'd be there. But later, he texted to say he'd planned a vacation that would keep him away until mid-December, just as my recovery period would be ending. It broke my heart, but I accepted it. Then, 2 hurricanes hit his vacation spot, and he told me he'd make my surgery. I felt a glimmer of hope. But then, just a week before my surgery, he texted again saying his fiancée's lung cancer surgery had been scheduled for the same day, a few hours before mine, at a hospital 30 minutes away. He said he might not make it to my surgery, but with him, might not usually means won't. He added that this wasn't about who he loved more. That message shattered me. I realized that no matter how much I hoped, he might never give me the attention and support I needed. I broke down on my kitchen floor that day. After sitting with my feelings, I texted him to tell him how deeply his actions hurt me. I said it wasn't only about love but about showing care, and that he'd given me hope only to let me down again. I questioned if his fiancée's surgery had really been scheduled last minute, or if he had known earlier but hadn't told me. I asked him to show he was my dad through his actions, not just his words. He responded, insisting the surgery was only scheduled the day he told me. But because he's lied in the past to save face, I reached out to someone who might know the truth. I then sent a follow-up message, clarifying that my frustration wasn't with his fiancée, it was with his ongoing absence and lack of support. I said that even if his reasons were genuine, he could have at least shown some empathy. I told him I hoped he'd be a better father for my half-sister than he has been for me. In a final message, I made it clear that I was done putting in all the effort to maintain our relationship on my own. I told him that if he wanted to be my dad, I would gladly be his daughter, but if he chose not to, I would be fine with that too. He hasn't responded, and honestly, I'd prefer he sit with what I've said. For once, I hope he really thinks about his actions and the impact they've had on me. So, am I the a-hole? Top comments. Girl, your father hasn't shown up for you your entire life. What makes you think he is going to do it now? And furthermore, why do you allow him to have that power over you? He is not your father, he is the male who impregnated your mother. Stop elevating him to father status. This man is going to support the person who he is making his life with, not the child he walked away from years ago. He doesn't prioritize you, and he never will, no matter what words he uses or promises he makes. Good luck with your surgery and focus on your recovery. OP replies. Thank you 2 hearts I will. Lung cancer surgery for fiancé Trump's daughter who still has mom's scoliosis surgery, but otherwise, from what you've said about his reliability, not the a-hole. Maybe send fiancé a note wishing her luck, and if it was a lie, shirt will hit the fan. And best wishes to you for a speedy recovery. A wise friend of mine once said, how many times are you going to keep returning to the empty well for water? I think you have already had your answer and I am so sorry it isn't what anyone would prefer. Maybe stick with the people who do show up for you. OP replies. Thank you. I will 2 hearts. Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving the room after my boyfriend surprised me? My 23F boyfriend, 26M, had been away for almost a month and was supposed to return this morning from his trip, but told me that in the last minute he decided that he wanted to stay one more day at his sister's, who he hadn't seen in a while, place. I had been waiting excitedly for an entire month just to see him, made some decorations and wore his favorite clothes, ordered his favorite snacks etc., and was very disappointed and upset when he changed his plan last minute. He had no particular reason to want to stay one extra day, so that made me even more upset. The thing is, he has surprised me in the past by showing up earlier than he was supposed to, so I asked him at least 5 times whether he's lying to me because he wants to surprise me, because if he is, I would be really upset to be disappointed only to realize that it is not real and do not want to go through a set of negative emotions for no reason. He said he is being genuine and even sent me screenshot of the cancelled ticket. So, I let it go and took down the decor, changed, ate some of the snacks and cried myself to sleep. But guess what happens? He shows up on the day, today morning, he was supposed to. I was obviously happy to see him but not as enthusiastic as I should have been. He asked me why I was being somewhat dry and distant, so I explained that I had told him very clearly that I did not want to feel disappointed for no reason, and him telling me intricate lies that made me feel really sad, only to show up anyways, made me feel like he did not value my feelings. He got mad and said I was being unreasonable because everyone likes surprises. I told him that while usually I do too, this absolutely did not feel like a surprise, and left the room and went to my friend's room. I got a bunch of text messages from him saying I am being unreasonable and that I am overreacting. My friend also thinks that maybe I am being a bit unreasonable to leave him alone when I haven't seen him in so long, so now I feel a little guilty for walking out. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Holy moly, I did not expect this to blow up this much. I read through almost all your comments and if I'm being honest, I felt a little defensive of him. But your comments overwhelmingly convinced me that I should value my feelings more than I have so far. I also realized this is not the first time he hasn't valued my feelings. I appreciate all of your comments and I had a long talk with him about this, and other times as well where my boundaries were not respected at all. And he absolutely did not get it. He half-heartedly apologized but took almost no accountability, and I think this is the last straw, honestly. I'm done putting in all the effort, and I will break up with him soon. It'll be hard because I really thought this one actually cared, lol, but yeah. Think I need to be single for a while now. Thank you so much again. Top comments. Not the a-hole. He has the nerve to ask you why when you so clearly and considerately outlined all the reasons for him. That leaves 2 possibilities. 1. He's stupid too. He values his plans over your feelings. Neither of these are good things. Also, in this instance, do not allow friends to pressure you into swallowing your feelings. Do not let him use their opinions as pressure. The relationship is between you two, the friends were not privy to your conversation and your real feelings in the moment. They didn't hear your vulnerability when you explained it to him or how easily he lied to you about his plans. This isn't a surprise but a mean-spirited prank where he's chuckling at how sad you feel and then hoping to be the hero when he shows up early. He's throwing a tantrum because he's not receiving the attention he wanted by pretending to restrict your access to him. And honestly, it's not even that good of a prank, you already called it and addressed it directly. It's something he's done before. If he wanted to surprise you, maybe he should have been less predictable. I'd have honestly made plans not to be home. Surprise, I made plans that don't include you. Why are you upset? You weren't supposed to be back. He needs to grow the F up and get a sense of humor that doesn't come at your expense. Not the a-hole. He enjoys lowering your mood, so when he does something nice, it has a larger impact in his mind. If your mood is already at an 8 and him coming home as planned would raise your mood to a 10, well, he only made you 2 more happy, but if he drops your mood to a 3, then raises it to a 10, well, he gets to pat himself on the back for making you 7 happy. He's purposely ignoring all the times he subtracts from you happiness and is only wanting to boast about the good bits. He said he is being genuine and even sent me screenshot of the cancelled ticket. So, I let it go and took down the decor, changed, ate some of the snacks and cried myself to sleep. Explain this to him. Also point out what he did was not a surprise as much as it was a trick. Also, no, not everybody likes surprises. Quite a few people do not like them, in fact. You clarified with him that you wouldn't enjoy it, in fact would be upset, if he was lying about coming home a day later, and he doubled down. You took down the decor, put up the snacks and cried yourself to sleep. Then he has the audacity to show up the next morning and be upset you weren't jumping for joy. I would have dumped the cat's water bowl on his head. He completely and utterly disrespected your feelings to do something you explicitly stated you wouldn't enjoy and would in fact upset you for his own enjoyment. Not the a-hole. Does he respect you at all? If this is normal behavior, I'd be rethinking the relationship. If he's still in denial about your valid response, have him read the responses below where I have no doubt he's getting ripped to shreds. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my late husband's mom any of the life insurance money after she paid for his funeral? My first and hopefully last throwaway account. My husband and I were both in our early 40s, married for 6 years, when he passed away suddenly a few months ago. It's been the hardest thing I've ever faced, and honestly, I've just been trying to survive each day since. Right after he died, his mom, my mother-in-law, stepped in and insisted on paying for all the funeral expenses. I was completely out of it, just in a fog, and really grateful for the help. Here's the thing, I totally forgot that my husband had a small life insurance policy through my job. I only remembered it recently and filed a claim, getting a payout. It's not a huge amount of money, but enough to help me move back across the country to be with my family and maybe put something down on a modest home so I can start over. When my mother-in-law found out about the insurance payout, she flipped out. She's demanding I pay her back for the funeral costs and accusing me of using her son. She's said some really hurtful things, calling me selfish and implying I'm somehow profiting off his death. But she offered to pay for the funeral, and I truly didn't know about the insurance money at the time. I'm still so broken over losing him, and the thought of being called heartless just adds to the pain. I know she's grieving too, but I'm trying to do what's best for me to heal and move forward. So, am I the a-hole if I don't give her the money? I'm already barely holding it together and just need a chance to rebuild my life. I'm ready, I hope, to handle the criticism that may be coming my way. Top comments. Everyone sucks here. When you found out that you were going to be getting a payout from the insurance company, in my opinion you should have let her know and offered to pay her back for the funeral expenses. Whether she chose to accept it or not is up to her, but I think the right thing would be to at least offer, even if some time had passed by that point. Sounds to me though like she said some pretty cruel stuff, seems like she crossed the line. On the plus side, you probably won't have to talk to her ever again anyways. OP replies. Fair point, in just the few comments I've seen so far, you all have made points that I feel I would normally think of / work through, but my brain is just not there yet, flight or fight mode, I think. Seems fair to just give her half of the funeral expenses if you can, then cut all contact with her since you have no children. She crossed a line with her insults that can never be fixed / retracted, in other words, she showed her true nature. You are the a-hole, to be honest. You should at least give her some of the money. Both of you are grieving, and it's common for people who are grieving to be a bit, not selfish, but self-centered as a way to protect themselves. I don't think you are a selfish person. But you are only thinking about yourself, which is understandable in a crisis. Here's the thing. Funerals are not cheap, and his mother had to pay for the funeral and was supporting you. The least you can do is reimburse her. I am genuinely sorry for both of your losses, and I hope that the relationship was not damaged by this misstep, as you both will need each other. It's okay if you need to tell her that you needed to hear from some peers to realize the mistake. Not the a-hole. I disagree with what a life insurance policy should be used for. You no longer have a husband to help pay for a house or car or life together. Your income may have dropped by half or more. Your mother-in-law can afford to pay for the funeral or she would not have offered. Build your life. Life your life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend she can get back in touch when she stops being perpetually busy? So, long story short, I've had it with one of my friends. We've known each other for about 12 years, met at uni, now we're mid-30s. She's the permanently busy type, if you know, you know. Always doing something, can't be alone with her thoughts for 1 second, hyper-extroverted, etc. She's a nice person, but that pattern of compulsive busyness got on my nerves from the start. Like, after we graduated she worked part-time. That's it. For extra money she let out the other 3 bedrooms in her house. No kids, no dogs, no serious partners, no ailing relatives. And despite working maximum 2 to 3 days a week from 8 to 3, she was almost impossible to get a hold of. I lived 30 minutes away on foot and we'd still see each other every 3 to 4 months at best. And every time, the spiel was, I know it's been ages but I'm just so busy. A few years ago I moved so we're now in different countries. I tried to stay in touch via WhatsApp but even that's been falling apart. Over the lockdown she got married and had 2 kids. So you can imagine how hard she is to get a hold of now that she actually has responsibilities and isn't just busy being busy. So for the past year now our interactions have dwindled down to me sending her life updates and asking about hers, and her getting back weeks later if I'm lucky, months later or not at all if I'm not, with a generic, so sorry, been so busy but you're in my thoughts, how are you X? Meanwhile, she's still pretty active on social media and regularly posting about all the fun things she gets up to with all those other people. So to cut a long story short, I decided this means she's just not interested and trying to tell me nicely. I mean, how else am I supposed to take barely answering me, and if so mostly just to remind me for the millionth time of just how busy she is, while simultaneously showing off all the things and people she does miraculously find the time for. Now here's the kicker. She messaged me about 3 months after my last message, once again with a generic, so sorry, so busy, how are you XX? And I chose not to respond because I'm over it. A month later, last week, it was my birthday, and she sent a birthday message and sounded quite upset I hadn't responded to the previous one. I responded by telling her what I said in the title, what's the point of messaging you anyway, when I already know how it's gonna go? I'll pass. Let me know if you ever get less permanently busy and can keep in touch on a more substantial level than getting back to me months later just to remind me of how busy you are. I heard through the grapevine, mutual friends/acquaintances, that she's upset at how I talk to her. But I don't think I'm in the wrong here. Am I obligated to keep making an effort for someone who just can't or won't reciprocate? And FFS, isn't it bizarre to get upset when someone you clearly don't care enough about to make an effort to include in your life? Let's go. Top comments. No a-hole here. The friendship has changed and it's clear you two have different priorities. It sounds like you don't understand her motivations for keeping busy and she doesn't sound like she's particularly good at carving out quality time for you. I don't think your message wasn't particularly tactful, it's definitely reads as salty and bitter. I mean, your post on a whole sounds that way. Friendships change as you get older and you can either build something new that's sustainable for both of you or move along with respect and fondness for the friendship you had. You are the a-hole. You come across as angry and bitter. Some people are genuinely busy. Not having a partner/kids isn't an indicator people aren't busy, as that seems to be the only grace you offer. Some people are just bad at communicating. Some people occasionally need time away from people and use busy as an excuse. Your comments just reinforce how bitter you actually are as well. Busy shtick. I think people are missing where she was miffed at you for not replying to a text. I would also be annoyed at this. Why is it okay for her to be busy and late in responding but not you? That would irk me for sure. Give grace and get grace. OP replies. Right? Like, what? And then people are all like, why are you arguing with people? If you're not prepared to accept a you are the a-hole judgment, why post? And I'm like, can I get a judgment based on what actually happened, and not what you want to imagine happened? I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.